Meet Renai Bell, better known online as Tops, an East London rapper whose verses echoed the harsh truths of the life he lived. But what happens when the music stops being art and starts becoming evidence? Today's documentary unravels how Renai's raw lyrics didn't just reflect the streets, they led straight back to them. Now let me tell you a story. It's a story that starts not in chaos, but in calm. A story of two men, one chasing a future with his children, the other chasing an image built on lyrics, reputation, and violence. On one side, you had Josh Mackay, a 33-year-old father of two from Waltham Forest, the kind of man whose face lit up when he talked about his kids. A regular at Hollywood Cuts, the barbershop on Lea Bridge Road, where he'd been going since he was a boy. His dreams weren't big in a flashy sense, just honest. A family holiday to Jamaica, a bit of peace, some memories for the kids. Then there was Renai Bell, better known online as Tops, a 30-year-old rapper from Walthamstow. His YouTube channel was filled with what he called lifestyle raps, but they were more than that. They were warnings, messages, threats wrapped in rhythm. In one song, he even said it plainly, "I pray every day that I buck JMK. That's a good day, not for him though." Prosecutors would later say that JMK was Josh Mackay, and that Bell wasn't just rapping, he was manifesting a grudge. Where it started, no one knows for sure. Maybe a personal slight, maybe neighborhood beef. But what's clear is this: Bell wanted blood. And on July 6, 2024, he allegedly made sure he got it. It was just before 3 p.m. on a warm Saturday afternoon. Inside Hollywood Cuts, Josh sat in the barber's chair, his young son by his side. He was mid-conversation with his barber, Ray Essen, someone who saw him more like family than a client. They were chatting about that holiday to Jamaica. The clippers buzzed, laughter echoed. Normal life. Outside, East London was just doing what it does. Strollers on the pavement, shopkeepers sweeping up, kids shouting in the distance. But parked nearby watching was a 4x4 SUV. Inside, prosecutors say, was Bell. Behind the wheel, his girlfriend, Tenika Parker, a teaching assistant. And somewhere in that car, a tool, a balaclava, and a plan. Then it happened. The barbershop door slammed open. A figure stormed in, face covered, a huge kitchen tool clutched in hand. What Ray would later call the biggest one in the kitchen sets. Time froze. Ray, scissors midair, barely managed to shout, "Yo, yo, yo!" Josh turned, just in time to see the tool in hand. The attacker lunged forward, driving the weapon toward Josh's upper body with brutal force. You know what? Sprayed across the mirrors and floor. His son screamed. Another barber jolted awake from his phone. A child being braided froze, too young to understand, too old to forget. In the chaos, the weapon slipped from the attacker's hand. Josh somehow grabbed it, not to fight back, not really. But like anyone would in a moment of disbelief, Ray remembered it clearly. He lifted it, half-heartedly, like he couldn't believe it was real. The attacker bolted, crashing into the glass window, smashing it loud enough to shake the block. Some thought he was so panicked he aimed for the door and missed. Josh, bleeding badly, stumbled after him, out onto Lea Bridge Road, the tool still in his hand. But the attacker was gone. He had disappeared toward Shrubland Road. Josh stumbled out and collapsed into a chair, soaked in his own claret. Locking eyes with Ray, he gasped, his voice barely holding on. "I think I got him." Ray didn't think he had, but Josh wanted to believe he had done something. He looked around, eyes wild with pain, and said to no one in particular, "I can't believe they got me." His son, his little boy, cried out, voice cracking, "That's my dad." Passers-by rushed to help. Barbers wrapped a scarf around his wounds, desperate to stop the bleeding. A woman dialed 999 with trembling hands. Another customer, frozen in fear, wet themselves. And amid the chaos, Josh whispered his final words, "I'm losing it." And then, he was gone, pronounced deceased at 3:53 p.m. His dream of that Jamaican holiday, a simple wish for peace, ended in blood and sirens, right in front of the family he had fought so hard to protect. The investigation moved quickly. CCTV caught Bell circling the area. Phone records showed he'd been in contact with Daniel Cooper, a 22-year-old alleged to have provided the weapon and balaclava. By July 8th, all three were in custody, Bell, Parker, and Cooper. Each of them pleaded not guilty, but the evidence stacked high. Bell had been lurking outside the shop for 25 minutes before the attack. His rap lyrics named Josh directly. The SUV had been cleaned. Witnesses were clear. Ray, another barber, even a mother who happened to be driving past. They all saw it. The Old Bailey trial began in May 2025. In court, Ray broke down as he remembered the moment. The mother who called 999 cried while recounting Josh's final words. The defense tried to argue mistaken identity, tried to claim maybe Josh attacked first. But the community knew better. Ray knew better. Hollywood Cuts will always carry the weight of that day, but it's not just a place where tragedy struck. It's a place where lives intersected, where memories were forged, and where Josh McKay's story, his life, became part of something far bigger than any haircut or conversation. Josh McKay was more than a name. He was a father, a brother, a friend, a man whose dreams for his family were tragically stolen from him. Renai Bell, chasing the persona of Tops, the feared figure from his music, was living in a world where the line between art and reality had long since blurred. But no one could have predicted that his fantasies would become someone else's nightmare. What drove Bell? Was it pure hatred? A twisted need to bring his violent lyrics to life? Or was it simply the allure of proving that his music was more than just words? The truth remains elusive. What we do know is this. On a warm afternoon in East London, a father sat in a barber's chair, talking about the future, about a holiday with his son. It was supposed to be just another day, but by the time the sun dipped behind the buildings, everything changed. One moment, he was dreaming of the future. The next, he was gone, taken by a fantasy that never should have crossed into reality, a blade in the light, a life cut short. But was it just one man's grudge, or was something darker at play? As the shadows stretch over Hollywood Cuts, the questions remain unanswered, the mystery growing darker with each passing day.